All I'll say is that it concerns the Archfiend.
Oh, the Archfiend.
Huh?
2 weeks ago, Team Ninja shadow dropped a huge surprise at the Xbox Developer Direct. Ninja Gaiden 2 Black was out that day. Personally, I had never played a Ninja Gaiden game, but they had always intrigued me. What I understood about them was they were difficult, fast-paced melee games where you clearly played as a ninja, and at the core, this is what Ninja Gaiden 2 Black is. However, there was a lot of depth to these features that opened my eyes to what I have been missing out on over the years. Let's first discuss the bread and butter of the game, the combat. Like in typical hack and slash games, you have your regular attack, heavy attack, and block button, with a few combos available by pressing regular and heavy attack in a particular order. However, this game goes far beyond the basics. You have countless numbers of combos on a wide variety of weapons, along with an obliteration attack, an ultimate technique, aerial attacks, and many more. How you decide to take on a room of enemies can vary depending on if they are fast, have a lot of health, have range attacks, or if you just want to use the trusty old dragon sword the whole game. The options are endless. Also, as you upgrade your weapon throughout the game, with the yellow essence you collect, you will unlock more combos with each level. We also have two different style of ranged weapons that I found to be useful in wildly different settings. I used the Howling Cannon against slower, tankier enemies to deal heavy damage, and the bow against quicker enemies to get off more shots before they close the distance and force me into melee combat. I also found I could hold off one or two enemies with the bow to help me save health, which became essential in later chapters when I had little yellow essence and healing items. In addition to the weapons the game gives you, you also have a third way to attack in the Nimpo. The game gives you 4 different Nimpos for Ryu, and each of the additional characters have their own unique Nimpo, much like they have their own unique melee and ranged weapons. I never discovered an exact science to the Nimpo, whether or not you could get through an enemy blocking, or if certain enemies had weaknesses to a type of Nimpo, as there was fire Nimpos, a gravity Nimpo, and even one that had a wind or air effect. Overall, the combat was challenging, but extremely fun and rewarding when you hit huge combos and watch Ryu slice and dice everything on screen. I don't know if I need this. See, I don't want to leave these guys out of the fight. Oh, goodbye. Make sure you say hello to your mother for me. Ooh. It was also refreshing that you couldn't just spam heavy or regular attacks, as the enemies would actually catch on and learn what you were doing and counter that to deal a large portion of damage to Ryu. One of the big returning items is the Maramusa statue store. With at least 1 or 2 of these on every level, it is an essential part of becoming the most powerful ninja you can. Within this store is where you level up your weapons to unlock more movesets, with the first upgrade being 10,000 and the second being 20,000 yellow essence, which is just enough to make you think about upgrading, because you can also purchase health and recovery items in the store for a varying amount of essence. These items are a small and large health recovery item, a Nimpo recovery item, and a rebirth talisman that picks you back up exactly where you died in the level, even in the middle of a boss fight, where I almost exclusively used mine. A nice feature is that you can collect skulls throughout the game that will give you discounts at the store for every 10 you end up finding. Personally, one of my favorite and strongest parts of the game is the level design. Once I started seeing different environments and how unique they are, I started to appreciate the game even more. The first few levels take place in pretty standard locations: Tokyo, your family's home village, New York, Italy. However, by the midpoint of the game, you were battling in a giant flying fortress up the side of Mount Fuji, and you finish in the underworld. It was a very refreshing to see a hack and slash game take a winding journey through different environments and not just stick with very generic backgrounds. I think the game did a fairly decent job with its boss design as well. Plenty of the bosses are memorable. You fight Wolf in a Coliseum, Alexi on the top of Statue of Liberty, Genshin in a burning house to defend your father, only a few are poorly designed and aren't very difficult. Unfortunately, the bosses that are memorable, you will end up fighting multiple times, so learn the movesets intently to prepare for their more difficult versions. Another part of the game I thought was neat was playing through already cleared levels with 3 additional characters, Rachel, Ayan, and Mamaji. They all only have 1 weapon and 1 Nimpo, but they are unique and different enough it keeps the game fresh when you're not playing as Ryu. Being levels you already played through brings a sense of purpose, like they're helping Ryu defeat the fiends and make the world safer again. I do wish you could collect other weapons or nymphos and upgrade them to flesh out some more choices, but that could also be a waste of critical resources like yellow essence, so I get why they didn't do it. Even with all of the strong parts of this game, I do think there are a couple things that developers could have spent just a little more time on to make this game perfect. First, do not expect this game to deliver a strong narrative direction. The story is hard to follow and feels as if the game is just making up excuses to put Ryu in utterly awesome locations. For some reason, a CIA chick, Sonya, is looking for you to start the game before fiends come and kidnap her, and then you have to kill off other powerful fiends to find out where you actually need to go is the underworld, which is hidden within Mount Fuji for some reason. Even though overall I did like the boss design, after the last Genshin and Elizabeth fight, the difficulty in the fights I felt really dwindled. When the game should have been reaching its apex, the fights got easier. And this could be in part that the end of the game was just boss after boss, and the game knows you won't have a ton of healing items or talisman to use. Also, there are some fights. Death Megalo Flyer. You Death Megalo Flyer. The Water Dragon. And the Fire Armadillo, to name a few. I feel like they were just randomly dropped in and not much thought was put into their movesets, as they can typically just be defeated with a ranged weapon or mashing the regular attack button. Much like not being able to upgrade the additional 3 characters' melee weapons or their Nimpos, you can also not upgrade either of Ryu's ranged weapons, the bow or the firearm. I do understand that they don't have combos to unlock like the melee weapons, but they could become stronger, like with upgrading the Nimpos. They could have even had an item to upgrade the ranged weapons, so you are not using up any of the yellow essence. Speaking of Nimpos, I do not feel like they should be able to be blocked, whether by a boss or not. I get that the bosses are strong, but at the very least, if they don't want bosses to be damaged by them, it could always stun them. It's not like the Nimpos are guaranteed to always hit either, it just feels like a bad balancing decision on the developer's part. Last complaint is a small one, but I wish there was more branching paths on the levels. The levels consist of a mostly linear design with a few branching paths that hold some chests with essence in them, but could benefit with longer paths and some unique enemies along those paths, leading to a large payout to make discovering the paths that much more valuable. Overall, I thought Ninja Gaiden 2 Black was a strong kickoff to the year for Team Ninja, and being shadow dropped on Game Pass got Xbox off to a great year. It revitalized an old, beloved series for Xbox while building hype for the much-anticipated Ninja Gaiden 4 coming later this year. This game can be a great entry point for newcomers to the series, much like myself, to put a number to it. I'm giving this game a strong 8, and I'm going to drop into the chapter challenges and tag missions to complete the full experience of this game. Pick it up on Game Pass or PC and PS5.